Hello, hello. There we go. So, I just wanted to apologize quickly for those of you who didn't make it live and missed the message 1 hour ago. Something came up with Adrian and something required his urgent and undivided attention. So unfortunately, we had to move today's PWA stream where we will demo a PWA application, the PWA pipeline, and adding a feature in a continuous integration manner to next week. I'm still here, as you can see. I could sort of take over, but this was Adrian's idea. It's Adrian's demo. I don't think it would be fair, and also not fully prepped as much as he is on the subject. So I figured there will be a few of you who will miss the announcement. So I'm here to sort of greet you and apologize in person regarding that. If you have any questions, regarding tomorrow, any suggestions, any comments, I'm going to be here with you for like 15-20 minutes and see what happens. The after show coffee is also moved to next week, in case you're wondering, just so we have everybody included, so that Adrian can make it. It was his idea originally, and Wednesdays are his topic. So I'm trying to sort of do the least unexpected thing right now, so that we follow through on our promise for those of you who did sign up for the PWA session, while also giving something of at least some entertainment to those of you who are regulars and show up to these shows no matter what the topic. Let me know if you're here. Today is going to be a pretty unstructured, chilled stream, a short one. Yeah. What else? Tomorrow, I can give you a quick update on what's been going on. I think that would be fair. I think that's the least I can do to sort of keep you in the loop. So Adrian and I have been setting up OTJ for a while now, and we've been wondering what to do with the whole setup. So right now we're experimenting with giving you more chances to sort of have a more private conversation with us as well, in the context of there are quite a few of you who have voiced that you might feel uncomfortable being in front of a live audience, or just being being on stage, and that's not something you would like to work on right now. So we hear you. We also have so the after show copies are meant to address that, where one of the streams once per month we would make a shorter one, and then we'd go sort of off live stream, and then we would meet privately with a sign up with an mandatory RSVP, let's say on the Circle SO community that we set up for OTJ, and where you could connect with us there and ask us questions, or voice your concerns, or comment, or ask us questions about the stream or the next stream, and just network in general. The idea stems from Vaibhav. Did I pronounce it correctly? Hey Vaibhav. In case you missed the announcement, Adrian had something very urgent to attend to. In case you're here for the PWA stream, we'll have to move the PWA demo, the PWA CI/CD, and the continuous integration sort of practical live coding to next week. So next week on Wednesday, Adrian will be back and we'll be doing that thing. Tomorrow's stream is still happening as scheduled. And right now I'm giving a quick update on what's been happening with the community. Thanks for showing up, by the way. Thank you for confirming my my assumption, my hypothesis that not everybody saw the PSA about the stream moving for today. Awesome. Yeah. What else? Yes. So the idea for the coffees, for the after show coffees, they stem from this concept of having a sort of lounge area or VIP area from conferences, where generally people who don't want to mingle on the fast floor with engineers and sort of this separation going on between engineers and speakers, so that those of you who are specifically there to network can do so in a more close space with other people who are there to network. That's the idea for the after show coffees. Vaibhav, yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. What kind of inputs were you looking for? Is this a PWA question? Is this a community question? Just let me know. I'll be happy to help if I'm able. There's that. So tomorrow's stream, to give you an update on TDD February, we're talking now with Nick Shoemaker for next Thursday. That's still unannounced, but I think it's 90% confirmed regarding his availability. So next week on Thursday, so next week on Wednesday, exactly in a week from today, we do what we have planned for today with Adrian. So next Wednesday would be PWA, adding a feature, continuous integration, and seeing how a PWA deploys done by Adrian. So he'll demo that. And on Thursday, so tomorrow's Thursday, we're looking into TDD, a few more advanced concepts. So last week it was more about TDD and pairing. Tomorrow we're following up on that with what the community response was. So we have Mark joining us again and Jeff joining us potentially to go a little bit into further detail and to conclude that topic on the basics and pairing basics. And then we'll go into a little bit more advanced testing concepts. So the testing per se doesn't have to do with TDD, but it has everything to do with TDD tomorrow. On how to make your TDD, how you can make your tests a little bit more friendly to use, so that you don't just TDD a bunch of stuff and then next week you throw everything away because you hate yourself because you might have tested, what we would consider incorrectly, and then that's I at least in my coaching practice have found that to be a major detractor of, you don't know how to test, you don't know how to TDD, you learn TDD but you still don't know how to test, so that then you negatively apply that bias to TDD. It's like, oh, I do TDD but my tests are still poop, so that's probably TDD's fault, so I'm not going to do TDD anymore. And that kind of negative feedback cycle, that kind of negative feedback loop is rampant throughout the industry, and I'm trying to do my best in giving you some key insights, some unique insights on how to better navigate that situation tomorrow. Next week, however, I think Vaibhav, you'll be very much interested in hearing about that. Next week on Thursday, we have Nick Shoemaker joining us, and Nick Shoemaker is by far the most prominent enterprise React front-end TDD expert to talk to. He's also a dear friend. I also had him on our podcast already a year and a half ago, before I had the kids. So Nick was one of the last guests I had on to the Technologies podcast, which you can also find on the YouTube channel of Our Tech Journey. It's on the old archive playlists. You can check it out, Nick Shoemaker. And Nick is working in a context of enterprise, so very large front end. So the code base of the front end is a very large scale, and he's doing TDD there with a mix of end-to-end tests and clean architecture and sort of service utility level tests on the front end, or what you would consider front end middleware that is then co-deployed or adjacently deployed with your front end ecosystem. He'll be telling us more about that on Thursday, so next Thursday. So that would be the 22nd. And then for the closing call of TDD, I will, whatever we get up to, I will fill in with advanced concepts for TDD specifically, anything that we might miss during the streams. But it's primarily about design. Like once we get past the cycle of writing a plan, refactoring, etc., really it's about next steps for you. Like what is next for you on the last TDD stream, which is basically, do you need to improve more on your architecture? Do you need to improve more on your communication style? Do you need to improve more on your DDD skills? Do you need to improve more on your design skills, testing skills, and some practical tips on how to apply what you've learned in the entire month. And I'll be relaunching my TDD booklet. So a year and a half ago, I launched a no-nonsense TDD booklet, which was basically a compendium of advice and testimonials and LinkedIn posts that I've sort of aggregated over the course of like 6-month research period. And it could use some love, and I also learned a lot more, and I gathered a lot more research since then, and we got a lot more data from the community as well. So I'm sort of I'm making it a little bit sexier and easier to read, and a little bit more in prose form. Right now it looks like a presentation. So with beginning March, it will look like a little booklet. So it'll look like something like this, so this is You Are My Sunshine little booklet. It's not going to be this many pages, but the idea is the same, is that you will have some key ideas about TDD, the steps, the concepts, some simple phrases that you can use for pairing, similar to what I posted today on the stream. So that's what's in the plan. And going forward, we're planning a mix of continuous integration and DevOps, specifically platform engineering topics planned for March. So for that, we're talking with Brian Finster to get him on the show again sometime in March, if possible, for topics of platform engineering, or how to establish platform engineering teams and what they are and how it makes sense. We'll still refining topics on that. And further down the line, I have a few coaches, agile coaches, safe coaches, like executive and VP level coaches, sort of, that I've been networking with recently, that we've clicked with, and I'm checking to see what would make sense in that context. But that definitely our focus is, now we're doing TDD, then we're doing CI/CD and DevOps, and after that we're probably doing another month of either something practical mixed in with management, or planning mixed in with design, or architecture mixed in with engineering culture, or similar topics. Again, context remains the same. Context remains small and medium businesses, startups, scale-ups, small businesses that are either bootstrapped or are looking for a single investment round, or companies that are sort of 20 to 40 engineering org and are sort of looking to scale up. Like, that's our target audience here on our tech journey. And that's what we usually filter down our topic to that degree, so that it applies to use cases and to case studies in that environment, so that it's not too broad. We did have some guests on recently, and Casey comes to mind, and I also spoke with Niels Malato on the Technologies podcast, where sometimes it does have a little bit more of a corporate feel, where we go a little bit too broad on enterprise topics, but we listen to your feedback. We got your feedback, and we trying to at least when we're going very broad on a topic, we then try to reconnect it back to our core audience, as that is something that we figured is very helpful for us to focus on. Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, Adrian had to attend to something very urgent today that couldn't wait. Today's topic was his idea, and he had most of the setup, along with the coffee after show or OTJ. So I figured it'll be easiest and it'll be most respectful and most appropriate if we just move the entire session to next week rather than trying to half-ass something today. So I'm just here welcoming you for those of you who are regulars and have made it live anyway, or if you missed the announcement or missed Adrian's message earlier about us having to move the show. I'm just here to entertain you and give you a little bit of an update and at least give you some insights into what's going on in the next few weeks. Yeah. I'll be on for a few more minutes. If you have any questions, do let me know. I see there's a few of you here, so if you can give me a quick thumbs up or a one in chat, that would be very helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. You see I missed your comment. Survivor had a question. What is expected to become a senior front-end developer in React? That's a great question. There are many different ways that I can decompose this question. I think, to call out the elephant in the room, what we need to exactly. Yeah. So you followed up. Just curious, what makes someone top 1% in developers? I would say you have to focus on your intention. Like, why do you want to be top 1%? Right. So do you want to be a highly paid React developer, or do you want to be a React developer with a niche skill? Or do you want to be a React developer with working in a unique position that in a way that nobody else can, right? So depending on how I phrase it, it all becomes sort of charged and nuanced with different properties. You have another follow-up here. What would be the path according to you? Well, if you want a path, there is a website called roadmap.sh. I'm gonna drop it in chat, and I think that will go on YouTube and Twitch. So I'm gonna drop it in chat and LinkedIn as well. And what roadmap.sh is it is basically a compendium of roles across the industry. So it's trying to capture all of your choices, right? So a roadmap is not a straight line, but it's basically a map of. It's a map that shows you where you are in your destination, and then it shows you all of the intersections. It shows you all of the different decisions and choices you can make along the way, and some of them will be exclusive, some of them will be will be A or B. Some of them will be complementary. You can learn to specialize and then pick up specializations as you go. So if you look at roadmap SH, your immediate focus is, what do you want? Do you want to be a very good React developer? Do you want to be a very good front-end generalist? Like, do you want to understand Angular and React and Vue and Tailwind and non-Tailwind and Gatsby and Svelte, and like, what do you want? Like, do you want to be a very good general professional that can build any front ends in any technology, and you sort of want to freelance and you really want to have a wide net and then sort of filter out the highest paying ones? Or do you really want to become very good at one of them? If you're focusing on React only and you want to be very good at it, I would say two things. A, become very good at the TypeScript advanced concepts. So for that, I have, React.dev is a very good starting position for learning how to structure and sort of organize your learning path. But in that, there is actually a cheat sheet website that I very much recommend. I just need to find it. I think it is. No, wait. Let me find it for you. Yeah, so it's in the TypeScript website, right? So TypeScriptLang.org has a website, a whole section devoted just for React. And one of the best websites that I can recommend for TypeScript React, which is not something you'll find on react.dev, is this website. It's the react-typescript.cheatsheet.net app. This is something I think the Microsoft team has set up to help you understand the more advanced concepts for types in React. So you asked the question, learning I like never ending, and this rises in me the imposter syndrome. Well, the imposter syndrome will never go away, right? So again, reiterating, front-end SH, choose, right? So imposter syndrome is very much linked to things like anxiety and procrastination, right? So procrastination is a defense response, is a anxiety response for you being overwhelmed with negative emotion, right? So a little bit of negative emotion, like comparing yourself with somebody else and let's say getting second place, is good because it'll propel you, it'll motivate you to get first place. But a lot of negative emotion will make you feel overwhelmed, and then you'll take no action, right? So a little bit of it is good, a lot of it crashes you down to zero. So whenever you're feeling that imposter syndrome, the procrastination kicking in, the sort of knowledge accumulation and not really applying it, that is because you're overwhelmed with something negative. Now, generally, the unintuitive part is that this overwhelm stems from having too many choices, right? So maybe when you want to apply to a company, you can apply to 10,000. And those 10,000 companies have a million different requirements, and then you don't know what to focus on. Whereas you should narrow it down. You should niche down as much as you can. Like, what do you want to focus on? You said you want to be a React developer. Okay, take what you've learned now, see who needs your skills that you already have without learning anything new. And don't be picky. That's really important. Don't be picky. Narrow it down to the degree that you will want to say yes to them, right? So define what a 10 for you. Define what a 10 out of 10 for you is as an employer or a project or a freelance contract, and don't settle for a 9.9, because otherwise you won't have space for the 10s, right? Because what you're doing in inverse otherwise is you're saying you're a 1 or you're a 2, and you're just broadcasting to the entire world that you're looking for a job for anybody who will settle for you. And that's what invites the anxiety, right? It's like your filter needs to be adapted to what you exactly want. Now, you will probably want to work with somebody who also wants to work with you, but then if they're thinking the same way, you won't really make any, it's the same thing as with dating, right? There's a lot of fish in the sea, but if you don't make any choices, if you don't make any decisions, if you don't take any risks, nothing will happen. If you don't take action, nothing will happen. So if you think the problem is you're accumulating too much knowledge, I would say stop accumulating knowledge and apply it. Apply it in service of someone else. Somebody wants you to do something, try to do it for free. You don't want to do it for free. If you know, learning comes from you being able to say, I'm done with X, I'm done with this, right? So try to take on a project where you can say, at this point now, I'm done with this project. Maybe it'll take a weekend or a week or 2 weeks. You can do John Crickett's. John Cricket has very good coding challenges where he basically has you recreate the equivalent of something that you can code up in a day or a weekend. And then you can say, I'm now done with this, and see which of his challenges can be done with React. I'm also setting up, I'm not ready to announce it yet, but I'm setting up a coding challenge as well in Bitburner. So Bitburner is a hacking game, open source game, where it's basically sort of cyberpunk, Matrix, sort of Neuromancer style. If you know Gibson's book, the original book, Neuromancer. It's set in that sort of cyberpunk noir genre, and it's basically a hacking game similar to Uplink, but you write code in JavaScript or TypeScript, and the interface for the game is a Electron app built in React. So I see a lot of overlap there with my audience. Like, that would be a fun challenge to do if you're really overwhelmed and don't know what to focus on. I would invite you to sort of join me in a few months when I'm ready to announce it, to focus on that. In the meantime, I would say, if you're looking for a job because you need a job, because you need the money, I would say really define what you're good at. Do some research on who would benefit from that, what kind of company, and don't be picky. Set boundaries, communicate what you want, but don't be picky. Don't procrastinate in your choice. You joining a company and it not working out in 3 months and then looking for something else is much better than waiting for the perfect job when you don't know how to articulate what your perfect is. Perfectionism in its absolute, in its extreme, is never a good thing. It will just lead to more anxiety, more overwhelm, more negative emotion. And then that loop then closes itself and just becomes this negative downward spiral. If you're more in the Asian market, sorry for labeling you. If you're more in the Asian market, I would say your best bet would be to talk to company founders in your local area. I know the allure is very strong to work with a US funded VC run company that has a lot of money, and you want to work from India or Pakistan for a US salary, but that's La La Land. Everybody in the US wants to offshore to Pakistan and India, not to pay your US salaries, but to really get cheap developers. So the reality is you might even expose yourself to more discrimination if you follow that kind of path without any experience or without really the stomach to back it up, because you will be facing more adversity than usually. Always my best recommendation would be try to figure out what your economic vertical is. So for example, for me in Slovenia, in my time zone, our economic vertical is local companies, German companies, EU companies, British companies, right? So we can work with all of that very simply. And we're in the middle of the vertical, right, in Slovenia. Whereas the bottom of the vertical then is further Nigeria, Uganda, Burkina Faso, and South African Republic, right? So that's sort of our time zone vertical of high-paying jobs to low-paying jobs. And it pays off to sort of understand where you are and what your options are. Because generally the best sort of bang for buck that can immediately address your anxiety is to network either face-to-face or remotely on like anything like meetup.com, or Tech Excellence happens, every Wednesdays in your time zone vertical. And just try to meet new people who you actually spend time with. When you connect with somebody, I get 50 connections. I'm very sorry, I haven't responded to everybody yet. I get like 50 connections every week on LinkedIn, people who want to extend their network, and I always send you a message to sort of reach out to you. And I would say, if you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, not only should you send them a message, but also try to invite them to a call, like a 30-minute call, like to a coffee, and be curious. Try to learn something from them. If you want looking for a job, try to learn what their needs are, and share something about your life, and see if you can help each other. That's the best advice I can give you if you're looking for a job and you're looking to become a 1% React developer, because you're in that sort of mental space. Oh, we have some follow-up here. So VibeUp says, I want to work with US team, not for salary, but to get in the proper process. Yeah, so if you're, I would say this is basically the same thing. There is no guarantee that a US company will have proper process. So you should understand what the proper process is, first of all, right? And I commend you for joining these streams, because that's also our mission. A lot of companies, a lot of teams have never seen what proper process means. And we, Adrian and I, have been fortunate enough to have been sort of lucky and blessed with the right people at the right time, with the right project, with the right funding, to accidentally stumble upon the right process and then iterate on it, and then actually be able to say that we actually not only have years of experience, but we actually learned in those years, right? So we have actual experience, not just time on our CV with these processes, with these technologies. So my best advice to you is target companies that have proper process. That doesn't mean target US companies. Just target any company in any region, especially companies in your vertical time zone adjacent region that have proper process, and communicate that in the interview. Communicate why you believe that, and try to back it up. Back in my day, we were relying on Stack Overflow and Joel on software.com. It's quite an old website for today's standards. He had Joel's basically bullet list. I think it was 12 points. Like, do you have testers? Do you have testers? Do you have CI/CD? Do I have this? Do you have procedures? Do you have code review? Do you have blah, 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 blah? Things that are nowadays perhaps even considered anti-patterns. It's no longer considered best practice. Nowadays, if you really want one book, I would recommend this one. It's a recent book. You probably know it. It's the Software Engineer's Guidebook from Gergely Orosz. Gergely is a Hungarian. He's worked with large FANG companies. He's also an investor, and he runs the newsletter, The Pragmatic Engineer. The Pragmatic Engineer, not to be confused with Pragmatic Programmer and the Pragmatic Series books. So here, this is Gergely here on the book. So Gergely will show you things on like how to prepare for tech interviews, how to prepare for tech interviews in general, for FANG level tech interviews, what to do as a manager, focus of prototyping, domain-driven design, how to test, how to boost relationships with teams, getting scope, getting staff level scope, getting manager level scope, getting director level scope. It really covers the entire vertical of what it means to have a career as an engineer. But it's not React specific. This is stuff for seniorship, tech leads, staff plus, engineering managers, technical product managers, that kind of thing. And I would say, focus on this and then see if this improves the way you interview or the way you sort of change companies throughout your career in the next 6 to 12 months. And do some, React specific focus on the side. So the React-TypeScript, the React-TypeScript-cheat sheet Netlify app along with Roadmap SH. Those are like good materials, because if you start using, for example, in TypeScript, the utility patterns for types, where you can extract types and you learn your hotkeys and you learn the utility types, so that you get more work done with less code written and it's better test covered. Something you can learn next week from Nick Shoemaker. You will already set a really high example, and I think you can gladly call yourself top 1% if you follow through on that area. You mentioned I worked as a founding engineer, but startups here is no process, so I'm not able to grow. Yeah, so if you're a founding engineer, you know that like you have to set up process. Right, so if you don't know how to set up process and you want to work in a company that has proper process so you can learn it, make that your focus. I mean, we don't have apprenticeship in engineering. We just have junior engineers, right? So if you're not comfortable calling yourself a junior or not calling anything below senior or CTO level, you're gonna have a hard time, because humility will go a long way of saying, hey, I worked in such and such places, but we never really followed proper procedure, and I'm trying to figure out how to improve my craft. That's also our mission here on this stream. So I think you're already doing a lot towards that goal. But now you have to figure out how you're going to apply that. You said if you were to be a founding engineer again in a new company, how would you set up process? What would you struggle with the most? What would you be most uncomfortable with setting up, even though it's the right way, but it'll be hard for you? What are those? You don't have to tell me, but just think about it, right? Because some things will be coming up. Some things will come up. And it's like, oh, I know I have to do that, but that I really don't want. Like that thing, I know what the right thing is, but I really don't feel comfortable doing it. Those kind of things, the things where you have personal resistance towards. That's your path towards growth. And then put yourself in an environment where your immediate peers, your coworkers, your environment of people will help you and support you in facing that resistance, overcoming it. And then there will be something else along the way. Thomas, hello. You have some platforms to train coding. Huh. I mean, I wouldn't go to LeetCode. LeetCode is really good for algorithms. There are some LeetCode problems that are fun for SQL, but they're a bit dry. Like they're a bit bleh. It's very. The problem with coding per se is that it lacks substance, right? So LeetCode is notorious for lacking domain. It doesn't have. Yes, I have this list and I have to sort it, but why? What kind of application needs this kind of problem? Like they never teach you that. They will teach you how to write in hyperlog data structure, but they won't tell you why, what kind of problem requires that kind of solution. That's why I wouldn't recommend it. But it is notorious for interviewing in fan companies. It's a very good LeetCode level problems are a very good filter for the thousands and tens of thousands of applications that they get. But you need to understand that is a very hyper-focused niche, less than 1% ritual that you do just to get in those companies. And once you're in those companies, you won't even need that knowledge anymore, and you'll be fighting on something else, hoping to get promoted in the first or 2 years, because otherwise you get fired. A lot of people don't know this. When you get into a big fan company, their strategy is that they have to overhire to prevent good talent to go into their competition. Because it's really expensive to get good talent from, if Google wants good engineers, if they go to Meta, they will have to pay that engineer double to get them to join Google. And at their salary level, it's a huge amount of money and a huge amount of opportunity cost. So to retain great talent, they usually have this overhire and then fire everybody who doesn't get promoted in the first 2 years, right? So if you're already stressed out trying to get into a fan company, understand that the moment you're in, the company will actively try to get you promoted or fired in the first 2 years. So it will be extremely high stress. So you need to be ready for that. Like you should know what happens in the first year and in the first 2 years, and really aim towards that holistically, rather than just getting through the interview process. Just so you know what you're signing up for. I see a lot of bootcamp students. I'm also a mentor every now and then on bootcamps, and a lot of them don't know what awaits them if they do get hired. Because oftentimes they just get so burnt out interviewing with a lot of FANG companies, they give up, and then they sort of get accepted somewhere, and then they have no more energy left, they're depressed, they overwork, and then basically it just downward spiral from then on. I'm not saying all the time, but it's a very frequent response, especially in today's market when a lot of people who got jobs, in December last year and then got fired in March, February, in Q1 2024, when the market turned again, became a little bit more bearish, and the public companies required a little bit more profit margin, and that's all it is. It's just business. A lot of these people don't get fired for personal reasons. They just get fired because some department says, "Hey, gotta let go 27%." Anyway, I don't want to go into too much detail about that. That's not today's focus. So Thomas asked to practice engineering. I didn't really answer that question. I would say have a more specific ask. Practice coding is not a very specific ask. Practice some aspect of coding. What do you want to practice? Do you want to practice refactoring? Do refactoring katas. Practice TDA. You have the Cyber Dojo. The Cyber Dojo has like thousands of examples in all imaginable languages. Do that. Try to do that. And it also lends itself very well to remote pair programming. cyberdojo.org, I believe. Let me put that. Yeah, cyber-dojo.org. That's a very good website where you can learn refactoring, TDD, and a little bit of design and sort of problem understanding. That's one part. If you want to practice design, that's a little bit harder, but there are GitHub pages that are devoted to here's how you create clones of X, right? So there are GitHub repositories that have sample projects of this is how you would system design a clone of Uber. This is how you would system design a clone of Airbnb. And the problem is you won't really learn anything from it, because learning comes from A, you doing something that's done yourself, and B, thinking about the problem in absence of an already presented solution. Right? So if I ask you to design something and I show you my solution, you'll be very biased towards my solution. Right? So it's really important that you try to come up with answers without looking at the solutions first. And the best way to do that is, because you can look at Twitter is a solved problem. So that's really hard. You will need to go back and ask, okay, what kind of questions was Twitter trying to answer in 2018? And reverse engineer it that way. But I think it would be a much better use of your time to actually join a company or to sort of help out a company that's in that space and see where that takes you. That would be the general area of somebody who coaches or does domain-driven design workshops. It's like, okay, we have this problem and we're analyzing the problem and we're sort of trying to model some kind of documentation, some kind of diagram to what the possible solution space could be. That's also another area where you can look at it. If you just want to get better at the mechanics of coding, I would say do katas regularly. That's what they are for. And do katas in your home environment. So home IDE, main language, and just set a goal. You want to do TDD? Do TDD. You want to learn a new tool like VTest? Do that. You want to learn your hotkeys? Try to code without the mouse. Try to deploy everything and design everything and run everything and debug everything without using the mouse. See where that takes you. If you're in the IntelliJ IDE ecosystem, I would recommend that you install Key Promoter X, the plugin, in all of the IntelliJ editors, and it will tell you every time you click a button with your mouse. When you use your mouse to click on a button that has a hotkey assigned, it will tell you what the hotkey is and how many times you've already clicked it, rather than using the hotkey. And if that hotkey doesn't serve you, change your hotkeys. Nick Shoemaker, for example, next week's guests for enterprise level 3D with React. He's also very strong advocate for learn your IDE, learn your hotkeys, learn how to do string concatenation, how to replace single quotes with double quotes very simply. Use the string manipulation plugins in VS Code and IntelliJ. If you're in the VS Code ecosystem with C#, install ReSharper. Buy ReSharper. It's a very prominent tool. Figure out what the shortcuts are for the main refactoring steps of move, rename, refactor, extract, introduce constant, introduce variable, replace loop, flip if statement, change signature. Like, learn what those hotkeys are. Learn what the hotkeys are for swap the terminal, split screen, pull up git history, git blame, turn off git blame. These are then more mechanical areas about coding. And then you can look at things like refactoring, eyeballing stuff. And that's Adam Thornhill's area of expertise. And this is still an answer to Thomas's question. Adam Thornhill is prominent for code forensics. So learn what the patterns are. Learn how to navigate a history of a code base. What are the patterns in a history? Generally things that change together. Files and components and modules that have a trend of changing often will probably change in the future. And you can that information, that data of how a legacy application has changed historically can help you architect systems better, right? Because things that change often and change together should be architecturally bound together. They should have cohesion. And if they don't, then that's a clear sign that, hey, when there's a commit including this folder, there's always another commit that has this other folder, right? So maybe they should be together. What would that look like? That's something that I can definitely recommend. Adam Thornhill is the CEO of CodeC. He has a book out now. I think he republished a second book last month. I'm not current on that, but I do believe I have a mental note somewhere that Adam Thornhill has a new book coming out in January 24. So there's that. So there's many aspects, Thomas. But ultimately, you need to understand, do you want to work in a business? What kind of business do you want to serve with your code? What kind of industry? What kind of company? What kind of scale of company? Or do you want to be more academic? Do you want to be a coach? Do you want to, for example, you sent me a sample project. I'm still looking at it. You had some ideas there, build on those ideas. Now, if you were to meet on one of the live streams, who would that serve? What kind of unique insight could our viewers extract from that? Is that research? Is that a case study? Is that something fun? Is that practice? Is that a kata? Is that something that you can do repeatedly to learn? And if you don't know where to start, or actually, yeah, you've been responding to me and I've been waffling on. Okay, let's see. Thomas first. Thomas, on training for development engineer. Yeah, so I would say, first of all, you need to understand your client, right? So you need to talk to people who are interested in training and then ask them, like, what do they struggle with? And then whatever they will tell you is probably not what they need. It's just their first line of analysis. Then you can help them with that. That's what I do as a coach. People tell me, hey, Dennis, we need TDD or DDD or event modeling, and I tell them, so what? Like, how will that help your business? And they say, well, we constantly have these issues and those issues and these issues. And then you see that it comes down to the basics that Vaibhav mentioned, right? So like they don't have proper process. No, not this one. The other comment. Yeah, Calvin mentions it as well. Hey, Calvin. From my experience, the proper process and team level in most US companies I witness is lacking. Yeah, same thing. I mean, but that's not to say, I don't want to label any US companies. That's just to say that most companies don't have process that you would say this is a good process. The majority of the companies do not have proper process. Because the majority of the companies aren't successful companies. Right, so most companies are in the transition of trying to figure out, are we going to be successful? Are we disbanding and trying something new? Because the market has the market was very bullish up until this point. So it was an up market. So an up market will be very risk prone. The VCs want risk-taking companies, and they will have a huge appetite for unsuccessful companies, for them to conduct experiments so that they can explore and find new unicorns, like ChatGPT, for example. OpenAI. OpenAI was funded on all of this speculation. And with Sam Altman, they have a huge scope. They want to be the first startup that is targeting at $1 trillion valuation, and sort of build chip factories for GPUs, for LLMs. I'm not personally in data science, I'm interested in machine learning, but I've never really worked as a data scientist or with applied engineering on LLMs, machine learning, prompt engineering. But I can tell you that companies like that it's a gamble, right? So when you're in a bullish market, there are a lot of companies that are just taking the risk of, we will do whatever it takes to be successful, but that means a lot of companies, the majority of the companies on the market, do not have proper procedure because they're not cash flow positive. They are in a risky business to become a unicorn, and they're not interested in being cash flow positive. They are interested in validating the market and creating a product that might enable them to be a unicorn. So 100x valuation, right? So from initial seed investment, at least in the US. I'm aware that the Asian markets are slightly different, and I don't really have a lot of insight in Latin America and the Asian markets. I'm more of a EU, US guy. There's that. That's what I have so far. One last time, if you're just tuning in, Adrian had something urgent to attend to that required his full attention. Today was his topic. Wednesdays are generally Adrian's topics. Adrian generally runs the Wednesday shows. I usually run the Thursday shows. So Adrian couldn't make it today, and because it's his topic about PWAs, and the after show coffee was also his idea, he couldn't make any of those. So we just figured it would be much easier and much more appropriate to move everything to next week. So next week on Wednesday is Adrian demoing a PWA, how to add a feature tip to PWA, showing you the CI/CD pipeline, deploying it live on stream, perhaps even giving access to perhaps some kind of boilerplate, and basically looking at features, performance, and demoing a PWA app that he then would, with your help or with your support, demo live on stream. Tomorrow we're doing the second leg into our TDD February. So tomorrow is about a little bit more advanced topics about test-driven development, specifically inspired by the Test Desiderata by Kent Beck, how to make tests more maintainable, what to look out for regarding structure independence, right, or structure sensitivity, so that they won't break randomly, what it means to test implementation versus behavior, what to look out for, the Chicago, London sort of style. And we also have some live participants, our previous guests from previous weeks, so following up and sort of joining us live on stage to code with us, to pair with us, demonstrating live TDD pairing in concluding the katas that we started last stream. That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow's Thursday. Next Thursday, Vaibhav, is Nick Shoemaker on React in enterprise level React. So it's TDD with enterprise level React applications. So tomorrow, February 15th, composable tests, structure sensitive tests, maintainability, and a little bit more pair programming. February 22nd is PWA with Adrian. February 21st is PWA with Adrian. February 22nd, which is the next Thursday, Nick Shoemaker on React, TDD, and enterprise apps. And 28th, we don't know yet. 29 will be wrapping up the TDD month with anything impactful regarding design and testing, or just the mechanics of how to introduce TDD to teams and how to coach, what to look for as a manager, that we haven't covered so far. And we will then eventually, if you're a long time viewer of these streams, you know that we sort of have a certain flywheel of content. So we sort of we go back to TDD concepts every 3 or 4 months, and then next month in March we'll probably have again a little bit more of a CI, CD, trunk-based development, DevOps, platform engineering topics. So more of a focus on the delivery pipeline, on quality metrics, on collaboration, on getting things out to the market rather than just speculating on future branches. And then probably have a little bit more culture and management in April, but nothing set in stone yet. And then we gradually adapt to news, adapt to trends, probably show you some white papers and some case studies that will pop up. If you're interested, the book club, I'm also running a book club. The book club right now is reading Planning Extreme Programming. If you're a subscriber of Crafting Tech Teams on Substack, which is the purple crystal ball emoji with a hammer, there's a join link in the footer. I think that join link is permanent, is evergreen, so you can use that link to join us. We had Kent Beck join us last month on the book club as a special guest when we read Tidy First. That was a nice surprise. I'm not saying that's going to be the standard going forward, but that's a huge accomplishment that the book club has managed to get through so far. And yeah. As always, you can find me on LinkedIn and Mentor Cruise for one-on-one coaching if you want a bit more of a private setting, or if you're a team, best to reach out to me and we can book an intro. Generally, we can do chemistry checks in like 45 minutes. Like in 45 minutes with a company, if you're a leader, if you're a tech lead, if you're a VP, engineering manager, CTO, we can quickly figure out whether there is something coachable or something of improvement or something process or testing or procedural in how you build products that you could benefit from or not benefit from, or if you're a right fit or not a right fit. So that's my invitation to you if you're interested. Yes, you're welcome. This was very helpful. Thanks. You're very welcome. That's why we're here. Apologies for moving the stream. I know this is not what you expected, but we're trying to make the best out of it. Hoping this doesn't happen again, but I think we're setting a good example, like also as a community, how we can work together and still, if nothing else, entertain you and be good hosts. So I want to be respectful of your time. We're about an hour into the chill stream about me waffling about career advice. Yeah, I would now roll some clips. Actually, I think we have some clips. I'm going to roll a few clips and then close the stream unless you have any further questions. So last few questions, the last few minutes. And then I'll be signing off. Bye bye, Thomas. Kalman, thank you so much for tuning in live. And I invite you all to join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be doing test-driven development. So I consciously labeled it in the positive sense. So it's about I have to check. It's about structure independent and behavior driven TDD. Right? So I'm not very good with titles, but the idea is that tomorrow we'll be looking into how to write tests, especially with TDD, that don't break unnecessarily. Like that's the most common negative feedback I see TDD practitioners cite of those people those developers, engineers, React, front end, back end, doesn't matter. They try TDD and they see that they write tests and the tests sort of get abandoned or they fail for unknown reasons. And then they just get stuck in this rabbit hole of trying to TDD something rather than really focusing on their business problem. That's usually a sign of structure sensitive tests that are not behavior driven. So they're testing implementation and they're very much sensitive. They're dependent on the structure of the implementation. And we're going to look into how to sort of avoid that. And if nothing else, what to watch out for, how to tell, if I look at a test, is it the good kind or the bad kind? Like that is already an immense help. If you have an engineer on your team, if that's you could just eyeball a suite of tests and say, this one we keep, the rest we remove because they're silly. That's already a huge help. When I go coach teams, I usually tell them, do you have tests? Yes. Sometimes they say yes. And then I ask them, okay, do they run right now? No, not all of them. Okay, is anybody actively fixing them? No. Okay, good, let's remove them. But then they are tests, and I'm like, if they don't work, if nobody's fixing them, they're probably not written very well. So just check. That is a very good question. Where can I check the calendar for upcoming events? Now, you can check the calendar on our techjourney.circle.so, but the calendar is only filled out a week or so in advance. So there is a calendar, but it's not filled out long term. So sorry to give you a bittersweet answer. So what I just told you is what I know to be confirmed for now with our intention. But we don't have them on the calendar yet. Generally, the problem is the problem generally is that we have the faces, the hosts on the thumbnail with the title on the thumbnail connected with something that happens that is relevant to the community, which means that there is an element of currency, of time-based sort of context to every time we announce something. Because we also need to know who'll be there, who won't be there, whose topic will it be. So even though we might know what the general topics will be, we might not have enough detail yet on the actual show. But right now, I know that Nick Shomeko we're targeting Nick Shomeko for next Thursday. Tomorrow, we have structure independent and behavior driven TDD with some live coding. The PWA for today, that's moved to next Wednesday. Those are already on that calendar, with the exception of Nick. And for March, we're setting up another show with Brian Finster regarding platform engineering. And if you're a regular viewer, you saw us talk about that. You already saw us discuss it. So this is not something I'm making up now. This is definitely happening. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but it's definitely our intention. That's a great question. So our techjourney.circle.so, that's sort of our central platform. The problem is on YouTube and on LinkedIn, there aren't any calendars. So we can only have the next one announced. We can't really line them up as recurring events as you would expect to have on a calendar, which is why we set up that community. But that is a paid community. We also have a sponsor. Adrian's company is also sponsoring it partially to help us finance all the SaaS community aspect tools, because they're not cheap, they're not free. So there will be some added sort of ask and give on that side, or merchandise. I don't know, but we will try to make it at least net neutral on the value exchange. And if nothing else, we'll make it entertaining for you. Huh? How's that? Okay. Yeah, so the YouTube archives are here. Is our tech journey. I'm glad you asked. So Baba, here you go. I'm posting it now in LinkedIn. Sometimes you need to refresh LinkedIn. They like to filter out YouTube links. So just double check if you see it. So it's at our tech journey on YouTube. That has all of our archives. My Substack, where I have our tech journey on my Substack, it only covers the Thursday streams, and Adrian covers the Wednesday stream. So that's sort of how we split it up, because Wednesdays are his topics, Thursdays are my topics. That's usually how we split it to the two pillars. He focuses a little bit more on the CTO and the strategy side. I focus more on the craftsmanship and leadership on the sort of EM, VP, and sort of tech lead sides. Yeah, I missed something. Something came in. Let me check. Let me sync up with chat real quick, and then we'll slowly close off the stream. Yeah, happy to help. What else? How did it go? Comments. I want to be in theater. Oh, it's that silly thing. Yeah, you can see comments because it's not a post. It's a LinkedIn Live. Yeah. So I posted the link in chat, but I will DM you as well because it can be very buggy. So I will just do that right now for you. I think you're already connected with me just now. There you go. Yeah, Vaibhav or Vaibhav. Let me know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I sent you a DM with the link for our YouTube. If you scroll down on YouTube, it's already organized. You'll also see the old archives from the Technologist podcast. Those are one-on-one interviews that I was running solo before getting the kids. So a year and a half ago. And there you will have Nick Shoemaker, Niels Maluto, Jason Gorman. Right, so there's a lot of TDD topics, estimation topics, project management topics. We have Adam Dimitruk, I think is the most popular one, regarding event modeling and sort of project management with event modeling and event-driven architectures and event sourcing, if you're interested in that. The most popular one is with Milan Jovanovic, if you're a C# developer. I mean, you're a React developer. But if you're into C#, we did a whole clean architecture and .NET and sort of clean architecture bingo, and sort of play the game on stream regarding where to put what and how vertical slice architecture and clean architecture and what the differences are. Yeah, so that's the old archives. You can check them out. Let me know what you think about them. If you comment, I'll be the one answering on the comments. Usually on the OTJ YouTubes. Adrian runs Twitch and the Wednesday streams usually. Okay, that's enough me waffling on. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, if nothing else, for hanging out and for being patient with us and for being understanding. I'll see you tomorrow. The invitation is tomorrow. We do structure independent and behavior driven 3D. So we're going to explore what really behavior means. So we're not doing Gherkin, we're not doing Cucumber. We're going to talk about what does behavior mean in the context of TDD, in the context of just designing any test. You know, what is implementation exactly? What is behavior exactly? How to think about this? And hopefully we can practice a little bit of back and forth with the hot join audience participants that are already announced that they would like to join. That would be Mark and Jeff, and we'll see if they show up tomorrow. Okay, thank you so much. I'm signing out. The after show coffee is not today. We'll do that next week as well, when Adrian's present. I don't think it would be fair to not have an after show without Adrian. This was his idea. So I'm gonna leave the music on for a few more minutes, and I'm gonna play you a 2-minute clip that we had with Brian Finster. And I'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.
There's two kinds of one thing. Number one, there's the engineering feedback, right?
Okay.
I'm going to deliver this change today to find out if it breaks it. And then there's the business feedback. I'm going to deliver the smallest slice of this next feature to find out if it's valuable and deliver that and get feedback. But the-
figure out if it's safe to merge and whether it's safe to continue with these requirements.
Yeah.
That's all.
Just because it passes all the tests doesn't mean that it doesn't break something in production once it finally gets to your production environment. I try to have a high level of confidence, but we're never 100% sure.
Yeah.
And so we want to get feedback as rapidly as possible on the engineering thing. And people tell me there's no value in delivering anything until it's feature complete. No. I know it's stable. I want to make sure we're on the right track. I don't want to invest too much money in this idea. I don't want to assume my idea is correct. I want to assume my idea is incorrect. It's a scientific experiment. I'm trying to invalidate the hypothesis. And we should be ecstatic when it's successful and just accept when it's not. Mm-hmm. And then how do we change course to make it, to chase the value instead of just assuming value?
I would like to add something to the term of confidence. I think confidence doesn't mean that you are 100%, as you said, 100% safe to deploy. It's about to be confident that you can handle a situation even if something happened, but you expect feedback. So what you definitely get is feedback. And if the feedback is a negative, you can react quickly on that. So this is confidence. It's not about, oh, I'm 100% sure that nothing will happen. I think this is a big misconception.
No, I agree. And people focus on the wrong thing. I want to make sure that everything is perfect before we deliver. That's the wrong thing.